Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the PHNX Suns Podcast. We want to welcome in all the early birds in the chat. Fig, Brian, Eli, some guy named Justin, Steven, Buddha, and Chantel. Thank you all for being here with us at the top of the show and popping in the chat early. Make sure you all hit that thumbs up button. If you're here with us on YouTube, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. I'm Lindsay. That's Espo. That's Gerald. That's Flex. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this Friday afternoon?
Okay. Could be better. It's hot.
Yeah, I mean, that's inevitable. Welcome to Phoenix, Flex. I mean, this is a new thing for you, I'm sure. But, you know.
Yeah.
Aren't you wearing a hoodie?
I am, but I'm in my air conditioner. But as soon as I go to the garage, I start dying.
I mean, I'm not as good as Devin Booker, who just showed up on Tom Brady's Instagram at the white party. But, you know,
yeah,
I'm good, just not that good.
Hey, we may not be that good, but we are living pretty good over here at PHNX. We have an exciting announcement to share. We were voted best podcast in Phoenix Magazine's Best of the Valley for 2024. Thanks to all of you for voting, for listening, for tuning in every day. We really appreciate it because obviously without you guys, one, we wouldn't be here, but two, we definitely would not have won Best Podcast because it was the reader's choice. Y'all voted. So thank you all so very, very much.
Lindsay, I got to make it clear. You're not the only two-time in the room anymore. This is my second time winning this, all the way back to 2008, and I'm back again. So
Let's go.
Screw your Emmys. I got Best of the Valley awards over here. So,
What was 2008?
Well, I won Best of the Valley podcast.
Yeah, for which podcast though?
It was called In the Zona, and I think we were the only podcast going on in Arizona at the time. So by default, we won because it was not easy to make a podcast.
A lot of competition, brother. Congratulations on that one.
I mean, I was like 24 at the time, and now I'm ancient. So, you know, but here we are. No, thank you to everybody. I really appreciate your support. Without you guys, there is no PHNX. I know that's cheesy, but it's the truth. And you know, this isn't just an award for us. I think this is more of speaks to everything and all the effort around PHNX over the last 3 years to build this thing, to get recognition across the board. And I think all of our shows deserve recognition and respect. And we're just lucky enough to have been voted this. But I truly believe any show on our network could have won this and deserved it. So thank you all for everything you've done across the board. And, you know, and shout out to Eric pushing all the buttons behind the Mac too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is, go ahead, G. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like, this is really cool because Arizona fans have a reputation of being fair weather, and for a sports podcast to be the number one pick for the Reader's Choice just goes to show that the value of building this type of community. And like Lindsay said, that community starts with you guys who all listen and show up every day and interact with us and give us shit and all of that good stuff. So we appreciate everybody in the chat, everybody who tunes in every day, because it does mean a lot to us, and we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys. So thank you.
Yeah, I echo that, man. I mean, listen, I'm learning this community. I'm getting used to this community, and I'm falling in love with it. You know, it's been really cool for you guys to do what you guys have done. This network as a whole, you know, 3 years in, starting from scratch, and to get that type of recognition is really cool. So I'm just humbled to be a part of it, man. And I thank y'all for bringing me along the ride, and it's been cool as hell. But I'm proud of everybody behind the scenes and what you guys do. I don't think people understand the hard work it takes behind the scenes and what you guys have built. So, congratulations, man. This is great stuff. And keep listening, keep supporting, guys. We can't do it without you.
Yes.
Can I address two things from the chat, Lindsay?
Sure.
Eli says, can't forget to give Emma a shout out. No, she's dead to us. She's no longer here. So no shout outs for Emma. Don't care. And then so says Jay, mentioned his own podcast, and so says Jay, no free ads. So I won't be reading your comments. So,
but I also think I will, on top of that, the only thing I'll add is that our events that we've been hosting at PHNX have grown tremendously over the years. And I think for me specifically, That has been one of the more fun and coolest parts of all of this, is actually getting together in the same space, creating those relationships, forming friendships, and a mutual bond over whatever team it is that we're kind of showing up for in that moment, or multiple teams, to be completely honest. Getting to know all of our diehards in the Discord, of course, has been super fun, because you kind of get a different personality from everybody who's involved in the Discord and these events than you do in just the chat or through social media. And that's definitely one of the best parts of this whole thing. So if you have not come out to an event, maybe this is the year you do that. Meet some new friends, find some new homies that you can go to sporting events with and do cool things with. I feel like our diehards and the people who come out to events have created their own little like subsection of friends. And I think that's super dope. So if you've been on the fence about that, this is your formal invitation. Come hang out with us.
Yes, you can join us for the parade. We'll be going down Van Buren next week at about high noon. Bring your own water. Actually, it'll just be Lindsay with the graphic that we created walking down the street, so you can cheer her on. So
it'll be like 30 seconds, then I'll give up and go back inside. All right, let's dive into some Suns news. So we did get word yesterday and today that the Phoenix Suns have officially signed Mason Plumlee and Oso Ighodaro. We got a little bit of insight on Oso's contract. So first and foremost, we'll start with Michael Scotto then. Phoenix Suns sign number 40 pick Oso Ighodaro to a 4-year, $7.9 million contract, which includes 2 fully guaranteed years, a partial guarantee in the 3rd year, and a team option in year 4 that will be fully guaranteed if the team picks up the option. Now, Bobby Marks also shared similar information, but gave a little bit more context that this contract does have substantial guarantees that will give him one of the higher guaranteed salaries of players selected in the 2nd round. So this is kind of an interesting behind the scenes sort of look as to truly how much the Suns value Oso. How are you guys feeling about this?
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I believe this guy was looked at as a 1st-round pick. They got him 40, but he had the value of a guy much higher. I love what they did here. They believed in the guy. They went out and got him, and they're showing it with the contract. You get 2 guaranteed years. You get a 3rd partial year, so that gives Oso a little bit of security. You know, if they don't pick up the option, he gets a partial of that contract and can move on. But if they love him, they pick that up. And then year 4, I believe, is a team option, which I assume if they pick up those first 3 options, that 4th year is pretty much guaranteed. So at 4 years, $8 million, that's a fantastic bargain for a guy that you really like, that can grow into some things and be a part of the future as we go forward. And so I'm glad they treated him with that type of respect in regards to how they believe, you know, what they thought about him going in. So, yeah, it's pretty cool for a 2nd rounder to get this type of deal. And that's not the norm. So good job by the Suns and good for Oso.
Yeah, I feel like I think they believe he's going to be one of the big men of the future for this team, looking at his unique skill set, his ability to have quite the unique offensive repertoire, in particular from 15 feet in. I'm sure they'll work on stretching his distance over time as well, but good passer, smart defender. I get it. It's an average wingspan. He's 6'10", and he has a 6'10" winning span. I know that's a knock, but this kid also, as Flex has mentioned before, has somewhat point guard potential. He was 6'3" when he started playing ball at Desert Vista. Was a guard then. That skill set carried over as he grew and became a power forward / center in his college days and late high school days. I think this kid has a huge opportunity in front of him here, not just this year, but going throughout those 4 years to really make a mark. He's a guy that's got that skill set that you look at and you go, okay, that fits today's NBA, where some of the other guys on the roster maybe don't have certain elements of that skill set. This kid has a very unique skill set, and I can't wait to see him in Summer League, and I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of him this season.
Yeah, I think it's like we've been saying, it's not common for a 2nd rounder to get this type of contract that has this much guaranteed money involved in it. But it does speak to how high they are on what he brings to the table, and also the fact that they're willing to take maybe more of a long-term approach, because you look at what they have at the center spot now with Nurkic and Mason Plumlee. I would imagine both of those guys are ahead of him in the immediate rotation for the upcoming season. But to have this type of contract where we're planning on having you around for 3 to 4 years, like we're committed to that, even though you're a second round guy, we view you as more than that. And his skill set does seem to be the type that, like, yes, he brings some things to the table right now in terms of the playmaking, the passing, the screen setting, that type of thing. But some of his weaknesses over time, I think he'll have a chance to improve on those and really carve out a place in the rotation as he moves forward. So maybe not in year one. I think there's a lot of competition for those backup center minutes, but he already brings some different things to the table while also replicating some of the screening and the passing that you have with Nurk and Mason Plumlee. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes as we go along, but they clearly like this kid and they value what he's going to bring to the table. And I think they're taking kind of a long-term approach with it.
I do have to think that this probably makes him feel really good, puts a little bit of extra confidence into him to continue to work on his craft and to grow in his role. Not that I don't think he would have brought that anyway, because everything we've heard about him as who he is as a person, everything he's shared so far publicly that we've gotten to see, he is exactly that guy. And I think in some situations, this could add a little extra pressure onto them. But if there was somebody who I feel like could potentially handle that very well, it's him, because of his just kind of seemingly super level-headed, really intelligent, asks the right questions, like moves correctly. So it's going to be really exciting to see over the next couple of years how he continues to grow. But we got to start somewhere. So let's start with where he is currently, look at some of his strengths and weaknesses. As So Says Jay in the chat points out, he's one of the best passing bigs of this draft. Multiple outlets and publications have pointed to that as one of his greatest strengths coming into the NBA. Gerald, you wrote an article over at gophnx.com where you pointed out his averages as far as assists go. In his junior year, he had 3.3. In his senior year, he averaged 2.9. But you also have to take in consideration who he was playing with as well, in Tyler Kolek, who led the NCAA in assists. But still, all signs point to this being a positive, something he can grow on.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very similar to Nurk and potentially Plumlee in that respect, in terms of you can get this guy the ball on the perimeter at the elbows and let him be an offensive hub and a facilitator, have guys cutting off of him, that type of thing, because he's able to zip those passes in. He showed really good touch with lob passes, but also, zinging bounce passes in tight spaces where they needed to go. And he didn't commit a lot of mistakes when he was doing that either. I think he had twice as many assists as he did turnovers over his last 2 seasons at Marquette, which is when they started to utilize him more as kind of a playmaking big. So that points to something he's going to be able to do at the NBA level. He's a guy that when he catches the ball in that short roll situation, he's got a nice little push shot. He's got a good float game. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to, dunk on a ton of people, but he is a good lob threat, rim running big as well in the pick and roll. So just having a smart cerebral player who you can run offense through in a pinch is going to be helpful for the Suns' second unit. Even if it doesn't materialize right away, he's got the tools to be this kind of playmaking 5 and carry forward a lot of what Nurk and Mason Plumlee already do.
Well, and whoever that was in the background, Oso does have that dog in him. So that was an accurate statement there. Gerald, I want to know, in your estimation, Flex, I'd love to hear your thoughts as you've watched a lot of tape as well. Is he solidified as a center? Is there a chance he winds up in a power forward role at some point as well? Because, 6'10", you could play him next to a 7-footer, depending on how that shot eventually becomes, correct?
Well, and the Suns did list him as a forward in the press release they sent out with the official signing of him as well.
You want to go first, G? Or
no, you go ahead.
Yeah. So no, I view him as both. Again, 6'10", 236. Again, I don't want people to overreact with the comparisons, but I very much view him as a guy that can come in and be play a similar role to a Draymond Green, where Draymond can play the small ball center, he can be the point forward. This guy's point guard skills or ability to bring the ball up, diagnose defense, work off the top of the key, off of screens, at the elbow. Gerald mentioned it, man. He's got some really unique things that he does with his shot. He's got some really nice push shots, really nice floaters. He uses both hands. If you watch enough of tape, you'll see he doesn't just go right or left. He's okay depending on how you're guarding him, using both hands. And so I really like this kid, and I think Espo, we're going to be surprised with what this kid could potentially do. He's very young, but he scored pretty well as an athlete at the combine too. I mean, I thought he had a 40-inch standing vert. So when you watch the Marquette tape, the way they ran their offense with Tyler Collect, I could see this guy being a sneaky athlete where you're like, whoa, we didn't expect that. So I think he can put pressure on the rim too. There's a lot I like about him. The one thing I want to stress to people is he's not a shooter. Like, you can watch all his film at Marquette. You'd be hard pressed to find him take a traditional jump shot. Like, he just doesn't do it. And that's something that he's going to have to get better at and potentially get deeper out to the 3-point line. But if he can do that, if he can, solidify his jump shot and hit the 3-ball, I think that emphasizes why you give him a 4-year deal. And that makes him a clear first-round pick in my eyes. I think those are the missing pieces to really tapping in and unlocking this kid.
Yeah, I think with him defensively, I think he's optimized as a 4 because we've talked about it before, but he's switchable. He can guard multiple positions. He's got the lateral footwork to contain guards on the other end. And that's what you want out of a 5. That's the one thing he brings to the table defensively that I don't think you can count on with Nurk and Mason Plumlee, which is why he might get more minutes as a rookie than we would expect, despite being behind those two in the pecking order. I do think offensively, though, he's more of a 5 in terms of you would want him as a screen setter, a rim runner, a lob threat, and a playmaking. You would optimize him probably best as a 5. The problem is, and this is one of his weaknesses, he doesn't play physically enough. Like, he's going to have to get stronger. You could say that about a lot of rookies, but even at the college level, his rebounding numbers weren't great. His shot blocking numbers weren't great. He was, guys could front him pretty well. Guys driving on him were able to, if they were driving with force, stick their shoulder into his chest and kind of finish past him. So he is going to have to play with more physicality. You think about some of the playmaking bigs in the league like Nikola Jokic, Domantas Sabonis, Alperen Şengün. They're very skilled in what they do, but they're also very physical in the way they're not afraid to stick their elbow in your chest and go right through you. So that is something Oso is going to have to get better at if he wants to be a 5, because as of right now, I think he's more optimized as a 4 with probably a rim protecting big next to him. The Suns just don't really have that at this point in time. So that's going to be something that raises his ceiling if he is able to play more physically, hold his own on the glass, that type of thing.
So we know he's going to probably bulk up quite a bit in the next year or so, maybe even prior to the start of the season. And assuming Nurk stays on the team for at least this upcoming season, how much of a benefit will it be to have Nurk there to kind of help him along? Because if there was one guy who at least does enough as far as like trying to combat a Jokic, it's Nurk, right? So you'll have that in your back pocket to be able to lean on to kind of help you. How much do you think that'll be valuable for him?
Huge.
Yeah. Go ahead, Gerald.
I was just going to say huge. Like, if you're looking at 2 bigs to learn physicality from, to learn how to kind of mix it up with guys in the paint, Jusuf Nurkic and Mason Plumlee is a great place to start. Espo, I'll kick it to you because I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on that as well.
Well, I just think, Summer League is where he's going to get that welcome to the NBA, quote unquote, moment where get choked up when talking about Oso. I think he'll kind of learn that physicality is going to be important and really hammer home the importance of getting in that weight room. I think that you need that moment of some guy just backing the hell out of you and making it very clear this ain't college. And I think he might get that in Summer League. But I think if he bulks up a little bit, you mentioned Sabonis. I could see, the body type, same height kind of thing. If you add a little bulk, I could see a little bit of Sabonis's game in him. I'm very intrigued, and I feel like I'm in the same boat as what the Suns are. You see the building blocks, right? You see how this kid could become something that's extremely valuable given the opportunity and some development. And that's what I like about him. But I think that you're right, that physicality is going to be the toughest hindrance to getting him on the court at the 5. Now, I don't know if you mess with him at the 4. I don't know what the plan would be in all of that, but I think you're right, Gerald, that his tendencies, at least offensively, seem to lean more to the center spot than the power forward at this time.
Yeah, listen, I think he's going to be a change of pace guy at both spots, 4 or 5. And again, you're going to look at matchups during the game, offensively and defensively, and how that works. But to a point that Gerald made, I just want to touch on this. I could not agree more that having Nurk and Plumlee in practice and the dynamics they bring to the table and the things that they're good at are things that Oso can absolutely learn from these guys in the gym. And the uniqueness about this draft was that I really feel like the Suns came in with a plan. I believed them at the press conference when he said, we had a plan, we had our targets, these are the guys we wanted. And the reason why I like that is because in years past, we were kind of fixated on taking talent and taking what the hot name is and maybe throwing them into the fire and saying, okay, we got you, we acquired you, now go figure this out. The uniqueness about the way the Suns did this with Ryan Dunn and Oso is that you can see that they kind of thought this out pretty well. They said, well, Ryan Dunn, we think you're going to be very good on defense. We want you to be that defensive guy. But by the way, in practice, we already have Devin Booker, Brad Beal, and Kevin Durant for you to learn from, right? You're going to be a guy. And the same thing with Oso. He's going to go to war with guys like Nurk and go to war with guys like Plumlee, and even to an extent, a little bit of Bo because he brings a little bit of a change up to things as far as perimeter defense and stuff. So I think he's got a nice group of bigs in the gym already that are going to help him come along a little faster than expected.
All right. So one other weakness, of course, is we talked about his shooting and the shooting range or lack thereof, I suppose. He's not a stretch big, and it's questionable if he could even become serviceable in that area. I know when it comes to Ryan Dunn, we all are optimists. We're putting on our optimist flex hat that the shooting can develop and get better. How are we feeling about Oso?
I feel like if you want him to be a 4 offensively, like offensively, he needs to be able to hit threes if he's going to play the 4. Defensively, he needs to be tougher and more of a rim protector, better rebounder if he wants to be a 5. So it kind of depends on which one of those skills he develops first on either end of the court to figure out where he's going to play best and also what the Suns are able to put around him. But in college, like 4 years at Marquette, he took a grand total of 2 threes, missed them both. Yeah. It's not something I project being in his game anytime soon. That would be more of a long-term kind of goal. I think with Dunn, because of his position, he's going to be taking more threes sooner than a guy like Oso. I think even if you look at like his 2-point jump shots or his floaters, they're not the prettiest things in the world. The floaters fall at a very high rate. But for me, the jump shot, I think, is going to take a little more time for him to develop. So that's why I think his true position is probably going to be a 5 if you just look at who he's going to be out there with, just because of the limitations with his range on the offensive end.
Well, and I also think it's always easier to bulk up than learn how to shoot, right? And get a little more physical. That's something that it's not really a skill as much as a willingness and an understanding how to change your body. And when you have the kind of trainers that they have with the Suns, the kind of plan that they can put you on. I mean, hell, look at Devin Booker rookie year to Devin Booker last year. I mean, there's a big difference in body type even for a shooting guard. So I think they can get Oso to where physically he can compete and he can be a little tougher. I think jump shot and 3-point shooting in particular, to your point, Gerald, is going to be very difficult to make happen quickly. So I would think that 5 is at least for the time being where you're going to try to use him best, and then try to work on that shot as you go along.
Yeah, I really think they're just going to try to capitalize on what he's good at right now. When I tell you this guy, he's very smart. And on defense, to Gerald's point, more physicality. But the one thing I will say is that what he doesn't have in physicality makes up with smartness. He's typically on tape. He's in the right places. He knows rotations. He's got good reads and good feels on defense. And again, he's a sneaky athlete. So I think the physicality will come. But I will tell you, the jump shot thing with him is different than how I feel about Ryan Dunn. And you guys kind of touched on that. This is a guy that 4 years in Marquette, I'm telling y'all, his entire offensive package was free throw line in for the most part. I mean, we could find a couple scattered things here or there, but he was predominantly inside the free throw line, putting his work in. And it's very strange in this new day of basketball that a guy can play 4 years of college basketball in the Big East with a program like Marquette and really, really just stick to what he was good at and be successful at it. So he's going to need some time, and it's going to take some development. If you watch him shoot from the free throw line, you'll get an indicator as to what I mean with that shot. It's just a little unorthodox. But again, Sean Marion had an unorthodox shot too, and we see how that that worked itself out. So I believe in Oso as a player in regards to his dedication and hard work. I think he'll put his mind to it, and he'll fix some of those things.
Do want to give a birthday shout out to Leo in the chat. Happy birthday, turned 29 today. Hope you are celebrating safely and enjoying some goodies like Four Peaks, OGs, Illegal Pete's. Everyone has put in the chat. Sounds like a great birthday to me. Maybe not all at the same time, but like spread it out throughout the weekend. You know what I'm saying? You could also celebrate with us at our next PHNX event happening at Chicken and Pickle. We're doing a pickleball tournament on July 27th. It's going to be an absolute blast. Apparently, the people to take down are Flex and Michaela because they have created a little duo, and they even got matching uniforms, you guys. So come on out and hang out with us. We also have a Mercury takeover happening in a few weeks, and then the PHNX Cardinals crew is heading to Miami. So that'll be a huge, fun trip. If you want to get all the information for all of our events happening, just go to gophnx.com and click on the events tab. And of course, if you want to dive deeper into Oso, Gerald did write an amazing article on him that is also at gophnx.com as well. Now, if you want to make this weekend extraordinary, make sure you do it with our friends over at Bet365, because whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. They've got a whole bunch of really cool promotions. They've got a bunch of features, including my personal favorite, the early payout offer. So for the NBA, you get your straight bets paid out or your parlay selections marked as winners when your team goes up by 20 points. If you're looking at MLB, it's when your team goes up by 5 runs. So take advantage of that really cool feature from our friends at Bet365. And right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. All you have to do is use the code PHNX365 to sign up. You deposit $10, and then you choose between either a bet and get offer where you place a bet of $5 or more and you get $150 in bonus bets, or your first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. So download the Bet365 app, use code PHNX365 when you sign up, choose your offer, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, disclaimer, you must be 21 or older and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov.
Look, when you live in the C-suite like I do, when you're an executive,
oh boy,
sometimes you have to make big business decisions. Sometimes you have to hire people to help run your award-winning business, right? And when I do, I turn to my friends over at Indeed. That's right. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. That's what I say every time I go, I need to hire somebody. I say, I need Indeed. It's just how it goes. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. This ain't like speed dating. No. This is, you're not just going through people real quick trying to find somebody you like. No, they help you find somebody that is fully qualified to be part of your business. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster, because, my life's busy. And when I need to find somebody to come work with us, I don't have time to dick around about it. So Indeed helps me find those people and helps me find them fast. It doesn't just help you hire faster, though. 93% of employees agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. So on the other end of this equation, the relationship you're trying to get in from a business perspective, they're finding you faster too. It's just what you need. So for listeners of the show, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at indeed.com/allcity. Just go to indeed.com/allcity right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, indeed.com/allcity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, so we have a super chat from Michael. Michael said Atlanta had a bevy of bigs after the Murray trade. New Orleans literally doesn't have anybody at the 5. Is there any interest in Nurk from anybody? Nurk is not a good fit. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just say I think if you don't like Jusuf Nurkic, you should probably come to terms with him being on this team. That's just my guess. That's what my gut is telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the teams that have enough cap space to absorb his contract outright are drying up quickly at this point in free agency. And, we've gone through trade options for Nurk several times, and they're not very great. Maybe you have a little bit more flexibility because you have more than just your 2031 first round pick that you should be hanging on to. Now you have a pair of extra second rounders that you can use to kind of bridge that gap. But I would be surprised if Jusuf Nurkic is off the roster, and not because they don't see the need for an upgrade or not because, Nurk is the best option for them, but his contract is not enough to trade for another starting caliber center. You don't really have the assets to attach to him to get one. And you can't combine player salaries like we've talked about as a second tax apron team. That's a big tool for getting trades done. So basically they could only take in a contracted center who's worth 18 million or less. There aren't that many starting caliber guys that fit that description. So I do think people probably need to come to terms with the fact that Nurk isn't going anywhere. Nurk was good during the regular season and better in some respects than people were expecting. And you still need to have an alternative come playoff time in case he can't stay on the floor. That's kind of is what it is at this point.
So on that note, let's continue to have a conversation around Nurk. First and foremost, we did talk about Oso needing to bulk up a little bit in the offseason. We got a picture from Nurk that he tweeted out where everyone is pointing out that he actually looks a little bit thinner, like he has slimmed down some. Gerald, you saw him a lot in person this season. Do you feel like from this picture, he slimmed down a bit?
Yeah, I think he looked slimmer last season as well compared to what we had seen in seasons past. He definitely looked like he was making it a point of emphasis to slim down so he could be a little bit quicker out there while still retaining, the strength that he has on the glass, that type of thing. But based on that picture, it looks at least the same, if not a little bit more cut than we're used to seeing from him.
Yeah. Flex, what do you think Nurk needs to adjust this season to be better for the Suns?
I mean, listen, I wasn't as down on Nurk as most people. I just think at the end of the day, what he brings to the table is what he brings to the table. I don't know if there's any singular thing that I looked at him do this year that said, okay, he needs to defensively. Yes. Like if there's anything Nurk has to get better at, it's on the defensive end. He's just, but I don't know that that's something that you can really change at this point in his career. I just don't. I think Nurk is who he is. Instead of talking about changes, I would say I think there are things he can improve on, like more chemistry and continuity, less turnovers. He tried to make, Nurk was very good at making those backdoor cuts off the DH, off the dribble handoff and stuff like that. I think he can get better at that, but getting better at that is just solely about continuity and chemistry. The more you do it, the more you click with your teammates, the easier those things become. So I thought he was great on the glass. I thought he put in work every day. He was tough as hell. He tried to make the right reads. He was a good teammate. I'm not as down on Nurk, and I think Nurk is going to be around. I'm expecting Nurk to be around and have a better season.
Let me preface this with, I'm not saying Nurk is this guy, but an example of what happened under Coach Budenholzer in Milwaukee Brook Lopez completely changed the perception of him defensively from when he was in Brooklyn to when he went to Milwaukee. Scheme is part of it. How will they use Nurk? How will they set him up to succeed on the defensive end? And I don't think he'll wind up being second, in defensive player of the year voting like Brook did under Bud. But I think there's room for improvement that they can get out of him. I think offensively, depending on the system and how you set it up, maybe he can shoot a little bit more successfully from deep. He's a good rebounder. This guy is a damn good rebounder, which this team needs. Is he perfect? No, I don't think he's perfect, but I don't think any center you're going to wind up with at this point is perfect. And the people pointing to how he played in the Minnesota series as to why he shouldn't be with this team, I think you could argue the entire roster, if you were just basing it off of that series, would have an argument to not be here anymore. The Minnesota Timberwolves are a unique beast in terms of that. And as we learned last year, you can't build your team to face off against just one opponent. The Suns were built to take on the Nuggets last year, and it hurt them across the board because they weren't flexible in the way that they approached the game. So you can't build a team solely to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, because guess what? There's a damn good chance you don't face them in the playoffs next year. You could make an entire run through the West without ever seeing them. You need a team that can compete on multiple fronts. And I think adding Plumlee, adding Oso behind Nurk are stopgaps in case there is a time where he gets in foul trouble or he gets played off the court, and you have a couple different options there. Now, you got to get used to Nurk being here with the flaws. He's not a perfect player, but outside of Jokic, I don't think there are a lot of perfect centers in today's game. Guys that have everything you'd want. There's deficiencies with guys. It's about how can Coach Bud optimize him on both ends of the floor to get the most out of him. I think he'll do that better than Frank Vogel did last year.
I think if there was one thing that most of the chat is pointing this out too, as far as on our wish list for Nurk next season, is the little floaters, like the bunnies, the putbacks, like just being a little bit better at finishing around the rim. And I think we have kind of a different conversation around Nurk, but that did feel, at least, I don't know, Gerald, if the numbers fully prove this or not, but from a feel perspective, felt like we had to deal with that quite often this season, to the point where I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from too.
Yeah, I think he was like sub 60% at the rim, which is just not going to cut it for a starting center on any team, let alone a team that wants to, reach the playoffs, go on a run, win a title, that type of thing. I think if you can shore up the finishing, that would help a lot. I don't know that you're going to be able to do that. I think that's kind of just who Nurk has been throughout his career. Finishing has always been one of the shortcomings in his game. And defensively, I thought he was better last year than I was expecting until the playoffs. I think it's reasonable to have concerns over Nurk based on what we saw in that series, because that was a series that he should have been able to stay on the floor for. We thought heading into the playoffs, okay, a matchup with Minnesota in the first round. If they win that, then a matchup with Denver. Those are kind of the two teams in the West that he would have been able to theoretically stay on the floor for. And the fact that he got played off the floor in that series and the Suns had to go completely small in game 4 and arguably should have done it beforehand is the concern for me. Like he's going to have to be better in that situation. You hope that the change in coaching makes a difference, but Frank Vogel optimized him defensively. Like Nurk was a lot better defensively than I was expecting because of the way Vogel used him. I don't think that's going to improve much under Budenholzer. I think the thing that you're hoping is that another year of familiarity cuts down on the turnovers, more gravity helps open things up for him at the rim better, more availability does the same thing. And then in the playoffs, if you need to go a different way, you're hoping that a Mason Plumlee or a rookie Oso Ighodaro are able to take over, and that you have more small ball options, because that was the one thing this team lacked. It was basically just either Royce O'Neal or Kevin Durant in that small ball role. Now you have a couple of different options there to turn to.
But my thing is, okay, we're all going to have to put some lipstick on a pig when we're looking at this, because my point is, otherwise, who are you going to get? Like you brought up, Gerald, there's not an option. So that's why I'm saying get used to the idea of it, because that's what you have to deal with right now. There is no magical trade that I think fixes your center position, because why would anybody give up a better center than Jusuf Nurkic for Jusuf Nurkic? Like that's not the way the league works. All right. And yeah, he has his flaws. So you're going to have to make up for that with other people. I think they fortified the roster better than it was. I mean, that's my problem with it. There's no easy solution if you want to move on from him to change that. It's just the fact of this NBA where you're stuck with this salary cap right now.
Yeah.
So we got a super chat from Psycho Blue. He said Vlade Deka's role with the Kings should be the prototype of what Nurk's role should be with the Suns. You agree?
Smoking cigarettes?
I mean, different era. I love Lottie. Different era of basketball. Different player. Yeah, I don't know if I see Vlade. I love Vlade, one of my favorite guys growing up to watch. So minus the cigarette smoking in the locker room. Yeah, but no, I listen. If he can turn into Vlade, yeah, that's fantastic.
He's not, but
no, he's not. Yeah, I don't see it.
But to your point, Gerald, they do have more options this year to be able to tap into. We obviously got Mason Plumlee and then Oso, depending on how his development goes. But then there's more opportunities to also go small. Do you think we'll see more small ball from the Suns this time, but actually commit to it? I think more than they did last year.
I hope so, and I think we're going to have to. I don't want to see Kevin Durant logging heavy minutes at the 5, but I think come in a playoff scenario, you're hoping that Ryan Dunn is ready in year 1, that he's ready for playoff minutes for that type of role, because he is a guy that can be a small ball 5 with a 7'1" wingspan. The fact that he averaged over 2 blocks a game last year in college, the fact that he has the athleticism, the size to be a small ball 5 for you, you're hoping that you can put him out there with 4 other shooters and suddenly his lack of shooting isn't an issue, because defensively he's going to be able to take care of a lot of that for you on the other end. So I think he's probably your best alternative to Kevin Durant at the 5 at this point in time if you want to go small. So at least you have that other option. You have Oso, who's a more switchable big if you need a more switchable big. But the fact that you are relying on 2 rookies in that scenario, not ideal, I would say.
Yeah. And again, G, I agree with you. It's way early. We haven't even got the summer league. And I see the chat, people like, oh, you guys are talking about 2 rookies. I get it. It makes perfect sense. But the Dallas Mavericks relied on a rookie this year, got to the NBA Finals. So the idea that it's not possible or that it can't eventually become that, I would pause on that, because these kids are good players. They're going to be surrounded by good players. And there's a chance that their learning curve can be a little bit shorter than most rookies based on the situation they're in. A lot of times it's all about situation. So, yeah, I could see these kids being rotational players in the playoffs, and I don't think that's a bad thing. If they prove they're rotational players in the playoffs, that means a lot of the things we expected in the regular season panned out.
I want to address something Cameron brought up in the chat. He says, only solution that no one wants to address when it comes to Nurk is trading one of the 3 where most of the salary is tied up and getting some quality players from that. But nope, isn't going to happen, basically. And look, I have said this on the program. I think you got to go at least 35, 40 games into the regular season and see where you are. If you aren't in position to compete for a championship at that point, things look like they did last year, then you look at those kind of options and breaking it up in that way. But you don't do it right now. And I don't think you are going to get, I don't think you're going to get a better roster with a better chance to win a title, even with Nurk at center, by trading, really it's Booker or KD, because Beal, as we've beaten into the ground, isn't going anywhere. So that really isn't an option right now when you're looking at the center position that's going to happen. The Suns have made that very clear. They're not moving on from any of those 3. So you got to play in reality here and look at what you could do to replace a Nurk. If that's what everybody seems to want to do, you're just not going to be able to do it.
Well, the only other guy that you could potentially turn to would be Grayson Allen, but then you're giving up Grayson Allen and you have to wait until at least October for that to even become a thing. So that's the pathway to making this move is slim to none, to be completely honest with you, because again, like you guys pointed out, who's going to give up a better center than Nurk for Nurk? That's just insanity. But what's not insanity is getting $200 in bonuses with our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make sense. And right now, when you open a free checking account online, you're going to get $200 in bonuses. You can get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200, but you can also look to Desert Financial for other banking needs like savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. So be sure to check them out. Banking local is a great way to go. And like I said, you get hooked up with $200 in bonuses for opening a free checking account online at desertfinancial.com/200.
Can I let you guys in on a secret? Just you four. Let everybody else leave here for a second.
Yeah.
I think I helped us win that award that we won.
Did you burner?
I used that burner phone that Mint Mobile helped me get so I could vote multiple times in a day. Don't let the people at Phoenix Magazine know, but Mint Mobile was so good to me at such a cheap price. It made sense. I had 6 phones I was doing it with because all it cost me was $15 a month for unlimited data on all of them. So I spent a lot of time doing that thanks to our friends at Mint Mobile. And I highly recommend you guys can come back in now. I told the other 3 and Eric behind the scenes what's going on. So you guys can come back in. I just want you to know that Mint Mobile helped me accomplish a great honor that I've always wanted to accomplish. And I did so by giving us a $15 a month wireless plan when you purchase 3 months of it. And, it turns out it's really the easiest thing to do in wireless. It's so easy. And I couldn't wait to break up with my old provider. It was that easy. It was that exciting to get in this. And all the plans, they come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. That's right. The biggest and the best 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan like I did. You can bring your phone number. I didn't. I have 2 phones now, along with existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15. That's right. Unlimited wireless plan for $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/suns. That's mintmobile.com/suns. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/suns. If I say it one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Disclaimer must be read verbatim. That's right. I'm telling you what they're telling me. $45 upfront required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slow above 40 gigabytes. If you're using that much data, you got to question your life on the unlimited plan there. Additional taxes and fees and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for details.
Okay, so I missed this, but I just looked at my phone and checked my email. The Suns also officially signed Monte Morris, like right when we started this live. So I should have included him off the top when we were talking about that, but I didn't. But it is officially official now. He's a part of the squad. Are there any additional free agents you guys are kind of keeping your eye on? I know, Gerald, from your reports, we're still kind of watching and monitoring the Kyle Lowry rumors and interest that the Suns have shown there. Anybody else that you kind of have your eye on as a potential?
I'll go ahead, G.
No, I think for me, I would be looking for a shooting wing at this point. I think you look at the bench unit, and yes, you brought Damian Lee back. I think that helps. If Bol is able to shoot as well as he did from 3 last year, this upcoming season, that would help a lot too. But in terms of that second unit, you really have a lot of non-shooters, especially if they bring back Josh Okogie, which is what they're trying to do. Like you're looking at Dunn, you're looking at Ighodaro, Plumlee, pretty much everyone coming off your bench except for Monte Morris and Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen, whichever one you bring off the bench. You don't have a ton of shooting. You have Ryan Dunn, who's a defensive-minded wing, a big-size wing, but you could use another guy in that same tier. There are a couple of options. Like we've talked about some of these guys before, but like Jetty Osman, Haywood Highsmith, Lamar Stevens, even Jay Crowder. I feel like Jay Crowder is maybe a little bit too over the hill at this point, but like some of those guys, any of those guys, I would consider making a roster move for, freeing up a roster spot to try and bring them aboard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm really hopeful about Kyle Lowry. I think that would make a lot of sense to have insurance behind Monty and his experience and what he does for a basketball team. So Kyle Lowry's the obvious guy. There are a couple guys. You nailed it, G. I'm intrigued with Jay Crowder. And not so much. He may be over the, past that line. The one thing I do know about Jay is that he'll shoot the three ball. And he'll bring toughness.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one thing I think this team is lacking, is that one guy that can kind of set the tone, that is willing to do those little things that you need, that you don't have to have throughout an entire basketball game, but in spurts can really shift the momentum. Jay's a tough guy. The crowd, this fan base loves him. I know he enjoyed his time here. And then wishful thinking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say on the Jay Crowder front, we did have that whole thing pop off where somebody on Twitter had posted about a reunion and then Jay Crowder liked the tweet. Yeah. So there might be some interest from him. As far as I know, he might be a little over the hill. He did average 35% from deep last year on 3.3 attempts per game. So
yeah. And I think go ahead, sorry.
Not terrible.
Yeah, I think in the role that he would come into this team would be much different than the role he played before he left. And so for the little bit amount of time that you're probably going to be depending on Jay Crowder, I think he's still got a little bit in the tank. And then a guy that I'm wishful thinking, I don't think the Suns can get this guy. But I'm monitoring what's happening with Saddiq Bey. They've always been interested with a guy with Saddiq Bey, loved him in college, and I can't quite understand what the issue is with him right now, but he's a guy that's out there. And if all the money runs dry and he has to make a decision, I'd be really happy if a guy like Saddiq Bey could find his way over there.
Look, give me Kyle Lowry as that second or third guard off the bench, depending on how Monte looks. You need that backup to the backup, like we were talking about. And then look, I know it's been a joke, but if we're gonna wade into the Jay Crowder water, I'd rather call up the Bulls and go, hey, can we interest you in a Nasir Little for a Torrey Craig, kind of thing, because you'll get the same kind of attitude, a little bit younger. Obviously, he's familiar here. If I got to go that route where I'm going to retread guy at that wing, that's probably who I call first. Is the Bulls about that? And look at that. Yeah, Saddiq Bey would be nice. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I do think you need somebody as a wing behind Ryan Dunn, just in case you get in a game where the defense isn't what you need. You need some offense and you need a microwave kind of guy. I kind of wonder if Jalen Bridges, again, I don't want to rely on rookies this month, but could Jalen Bridges be a guy that could wind up coming in and playing that offensive wing backup to Ryan Dunn, where you can mix it up and get a little something out of him? I think they want to see that. They want to look at him. Obviously, in Summer League, they have him on a two-way deal, so you can see a little bit in the G League if necessary, but that's where I would look.
I think Jetty or a Haywood Highsmith type would be maybe a little too optimistic for me. So maybe like a Lamar Stevens would work. If you're looking for a backup point guard, like we've talked about Lowry as well, if you strike out on him and you feel like you need some depth behind Monte Morris, I believe Spencer Dinwiddie and Dennis Smith Jr. are both available, whether you'd be able to get them for vet minimums. Again, we're still kind of waiting for this market to play out and dry up, so guys have to take those vet minimum deals, but either one of those would provide you with some length, some defense there at the point of attack. And if you're not comfortable with your center rotation, or you view Ighodaro as more of a forward than a center, Daniel Tice is still out there, and he's one of the best positional centers, like switchable perimeter defensive centers that you're going to be able to get on the market. So I think all of those guys would be good. Like Jetty for me would be the best case scenario if you were to, cut David Roddy or trade him into somebody's cap space or whatever. But yeah, and you could potentially try to sell the Bulls like, hey, David Roddy's young. Like, that trade works 1-for-1. Maybe we throw a second round pick on top, but yeah, they do have options there. Even if Josh Okogie winds up taking that 15th roster spot, there are still some decent names out there that are worth considering.
You want to do Daniel Tice? You want to do our new boy Mason Plumlee like that? Daniel Tice already came in and took his job last year for part of the season. You really want? No, we're not doing our new boy Plum like that.
I want a roster that can defend in the playoffs. That's what I want.
Whatever it takes. We got another super chat from Michael. Michael, thank you so much. They said, Gerald, can you explain the aggregation of salaries? Could Suns bring in Larry Nance Jr. at $10.3 million and Sadiq Bey at $4.5 million for Jusuf Nurkic with his $16.9 million? Can you aggregate for the incoming team?
Yeah, so we'd have to figure out which team in that scenario is taking on Nurkic's salary. But assuming, just to answer your question in terms of the principles of it, the Suns can take in multiple contracts in return for one player. They just can't send out multiple players at the same time. So they cannot aggregate salaries outgoing, but they can bring in multiple salaries incoming as long as the other team is able to take that one outgoing player.
We also have one other super chat from Brian. Brian said, did DNVR win most cowardly show for blocking chat?
Jeez.
The vote's still out on that one. I don't think that one's come back yet.
No comment. We have to see them in 5 days, so I'm not starting that beef.
And they were very supportive of our magazine win today. So
they were super nice.
Last summer they got a trophy. This summer we got a magazine page. All right.
Yeah, so we're on the same level. That's right. Are you guys going to bring 4 Peaks? Are you allowed to bring 4 Peaks to Vegas? Is that a thing?
I'm pretty sure you can bring anything into Vegas. I think that's the rule.
So, right? I think
you can't take everything out, but you can bring it in, I believe is the way
I feel like our friends from DNVR and Philly and CHGO would really love if you brought them the gift of some 4 Peaks beer, because as we all know, 4 Peaks makes the best beer you can get your hands on, whether it's the Kilt Lifter, the Suns Brew, the Wow Wheat, or the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale, which is one of their newest beers. It's a collab between 4 Peaks and Bad Birdie. All super drinkable, and I think you guys should hook up our friends with some 4 Peaks out in Vegas when you guys are out there for Summer League. Of course, if you guys want to get to know more about our friends at 4 Peaks, where you can find their beer and all the fun events that they host throughout the year, visit 4peaks.com/locator. You can also give them a follow on social at 4 Peaks Brew or at 4 Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Now, just a reminder, you do have to be 21 years or older to drink 4 Peaks, and we ask that you please drink responsibly. But hey, listen, if beer is not your thing, 4 Peaks also has some amazing food at their brewery down in Tempe. So you can always go there for a great bite as well.
Me love road trips, and me tell guys they go on Vegas road trip next week. Me tell guys they have to stop at Circle K. It make perfect sense on way out of Valley up to Las Vegas. You stop at Circle K, America's thirst stop. Yeah, and if you haven't signed up already, you sign up for Inner Circle. You get the 5 fill-ups of 25 cents off per gallon. Unbelievable deal. Special one, drive that much. Better than filling up on cookies. You get as much gas as you need, 25 cents off per gallon. But that's not all. You stop, you get Polar Pop. Right now, 79 cents for normal people. But what you guys get it for? 69 cents. Milky Monster like that. So you get it for 69 cents. It's that simple. You download the Circle K app. Become an Inner Circle member. You get those Polar Pops and Frosters for that. So remember, join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details, and no local colas. Those not allowed anymore. Espo get slapped on the wrist for ever mentioning those. So don't do that.
Yes. All right. So since you guys we're gonna be road tripping out to Las Vegas for Summer League, that is tipping off next week. Flex has never been to Vegas, not just for Summer League, but just in general, right, Flex?
Never been there.
What advice should we impart on Flex before he makes his debut trip to the wonderful Sin City?
Well, first off, do not ask Lindsay for food recommendations on the way to Vegas. Do not ask for them. You'll wind up at a barbecue spot that ain't good.
That wasn't my fault. My first off thing is just don't go.
Okay. Okay. Hey, I'm from People in the chat are bugging out. Like I got Atlantic City right down the road from me in Jersey. So yeah, I didn't have
So
to go
you've been to the
Vegas.
Walmart Vegas. It's all
I've been
right.
to the Walmart Vegas.
You know what Vegas can be like, just at a worse way.
Yeah.
So,
Is that what's up? What else should I worry about, Lens? What's going on? Talk to me.
Listen, Fremont Street gets a bad rap, but it can be fun if you go with the right people. I think you've got the right group, so I think you could have fun on Fremont Street. Nothing good happens after about 2:30. I'll give you 2:30-ish, 2:45-ish. At that point in time, just go back to your hotel.
Ma'am, have you been
Just go
out
back to the
past
hotel.
11:30 p.m.?
I have. Actually, Gerald, I have. But
in the last
Okay.
decade,
it gets a little sus after about 2:30, 2:45 in the morning. I'm just
The chat is keeping it real.
Unless you're in a private situation, then that's different. You can stay out.
Don't go to an ATM after 1 a.m. Stay away from the hookers. Okay.
Oh, the guys who are
it's
flinging
a
the
good
cards,
rule anywhere.
the guys who are flinging the cards like this, just keep walking. Don't make eye contact.
My dad, he got in the habit of telling them, no thanks, I'm trying to cut back, because their reactions would get them to stop right away.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Gerald,
Really?
you just gave me what I'm going to do all trip now. Thank you. Flex,
Definitely do recreate hangover shenanigans. Definitely do that.
Oh,
no
that's
face tattoos. No tigers or face tattoos.
Oh
I
yeah,
support
yeah.
this
Okay.
tattoo. Let's do it. Come on with
I don't know about the chat, G, but the tiger. Hey, be careful, brother.
I got one for
At least
you,
a
Flex.
chicken.
So says Jay says, don't share a room with Tim Tompkins. Yeah, that was one bad summer league experience I had before this was a thing. So I recommend don't do that. I will make sure that doesn't happen to you. But I also recommend don't get high on a non-Suns game day and walk around the concourse at the Cox Pavilion and the UNLV arena there. I got lost in a circle, and then also was in line for roasted almonds with Joe Lacob right in front of me while I was high, debating if I should say something to him or not while high. So I don't recommend it. All right, that's one you should stay away from.
All right, so I don't drink or smoke, so I'm not probably not gonna get high, probably not gonna get drunk. But okay, so I got you.
Then you should be fine.
Yeah,
you should be fine then.
I should be
Flex,
fine.
the advice is you need to look out for us in Vegas. That's
You need to
that what we
babysit
doing?
them.
Okay,
Right.
I got y'all. I'll be the designated driver. I get y'all to point A to point B. I'll fight the guy that's trying to kick y'all out. I got it.
What I will say, Flex, is that I know you're a night owl.
Yeah.
The mornings come real fast in Vegas.
Mhm.
I'll just put it like that. Like, I know you're a night owl, so you're the type of person who you would roll back at like 6 o'clock, 7 in the morning, no problem. But I guarantee you the turnaround is going to kill you.
Oh,
So.
okay. So that's the best advice I got today. See, that's what I'm
the
talking
real
about,
one.
Lynn.
That's the real one there.
Invest in water. Invest in water right away. You need water
Maybe
out
even
there.
bring
that
it
bad?
with you.
Well,
Even if
you
you're not
don't drink,
drinking.
it's hot as hell there. It's just like here. It's so hot.
Y'all making me rethink this whole thing.
Hey, real quick before we, go ahead, Espo.
Just one other thing: $86 pizza at 1 a.m. Always a good idea. Spending $86 on pizza.
That's
Had a buddy of mine do that. He wound up inadvertently. I actually think it was so says Jay. Wound up buying like 12 people in line pizza rather than just for 3 of us. So highly recommend. And then you should give me as much money as possible. That's the other thing.
There you go.
Okay, I got you, dog.
We're going to do one last thing before we get out of here. Nacho in the chat, a newer face in the chat. Nacho, welcome. They have been begging us all show to theorize on what we think Bradley Beal's Instagram post meant. So early this morning, Bradley Beal posted on an all-black Instagram page, just all caps, cooked. What are we theorizing here? Because for me, it's just straight up, if he's in Phoenix, he's feeling like he's getting cooked from the outside in for being here because it's so hot.
That's my guess.
I like to imagine the next slide on that Instagram story was a grill with all his Wizards jerseys on it. And he was just saying, it's starting new this year, right? And it just cooked. Yeah.
I think he low key has heard everything that everyone has been saying about him, and he's acknowledging it. I don't know this for sure. I think people have been talking about how he's cooked and talking about his contract, and I think he's aware of that. That's what I think.
You think he's trolling?
I think he's 100% saying like, okay, I hear what you're saying about me. I'm cooked. Let's see. We'll see what the season brings.
I kind of like that theory,
Challenge.
G. I like where you at with that, G.
Okay.
But I do think Lindsay might be right. I think he just woke the hell up and said, "Man, I'm fucking cooked. It's hot."
Either that or Espo, the follow-up was supposed to actually be what he cooked on 4th of July and he just forgot to post it.
Yeah,
or
why
didn't
couldn't it be
upload
that
fully.
simple?
One of the two. It very well could have been.
Yeah, I cooked.
These guys don't do that. They know that anything they post is going to be taken a type of way. So no, I don't buy that.
Okay.
He
Either
made
would
some
say.
nachos. He cooked. There's your answer, Nacho.
It just
Enjoy.
adds to the drama of the off season. And isn't that what NBA off seasons are all about? And since we aren't getting as much drama from like the free agency movement situation right now, we'll get some social media drama. It's whatever.
Yeah.
As long as it works.
Love it. Okay.
All right. Well, that's it. That's all we're going to do today. We'll keep you posted if Bradley Beal posts anything else. We'll talk about it next week. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button if you are here with us on YouTube. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to follow the show on social at PHNX_Suns. You can also follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Flex at Flex from Jersey. And you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
If you see me in Vegas, don't call me Espo. Call me two-time. Ahoy, ahoy.
We all silly like the mayor.